Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women Creating in Real Life Community, Galentine's Day edition. So, we're here. Thank you for being here. I know there are so many wonderful community events happening tonight, but I'm so happy that you chose to be here with us. We have some really amazing community leaders that are being highlighted. They will introduce themselves in a moment, but before we move into that, I would actually like to learn a little bit about you. So, a lot of people like to go to events to meet new people, make new friends, and I'm curious, who here has lived in Austin, including the speakers? Let's get a rundown. Who's been here for more than a decade in Austin? Wow. Amazing. And who has been here for more than 5 years? Or under 5 years? Okay. Under 2 years? Nice. Under 1? Under 6 months? Woohoo! All right, well, welcome. Whether you've been here for a decade plus, whether you've been here for 1 month, I just want to get us kicked off here by going over what this community series is all about. So I started this series in 2019 in San Francisco, and it was really based on my experience of wanting to plug in to what I felt were the best connected events, where I really felt that feeling of expansion and connection and community, and realizing that I wanted to pay it forward. Not everyone knows exactly where to go, how to connect with, who becomes their tribe, right? So we have a great opportunity here to really hear some behind the scenes, because it's about the community, but it's also about the intentionality behind the people that are bringing us together. And whether you are a community leader, whether you are an aspiring community leader, whether you love to be a part of community, you are so welcome here. And I'm excited to pass the metaphorical mic down the line, and we will go ahead and, if you could please share your name, your community, and what drives your community.
Hi everyone, how's everybody doing on Galentine's Day? So my name is Jax Brennan, I go by Jax, and for the past 5 years I've run a global community called FIESTA, which stands for Tribe. I see a lot of faces who are here tonight who've attended a lot of our events, and that's wonderful. And I have some big news today, because I don't think everyone's officially heard our announcement yet, but FIESTA has joined forces with another female community called Tech Girl, and we've relaunched as Ayana Foundation. And one of my co-founders, Leslie Robinson, the managing director of the Kendra Scott Women's Institute, is here tonight. And we are so excited to bring a lot of in-person IRL programming back to Austin through Ayana.
Hello, my name is Cherie Werner, and I run a community group called FIESTA. And FIESTA stands for Founders, Investors, Entrepreneurs, Startups, Techies, and Austin Newcomers. So there's something for everybody. And the heart behind what we're doing is to help you navigate this ecosystem. There's a lot of incredible events and things going on. And so we kind of say we're the Ellis Island of Austin. You kind of land at FIESTA, but we kind of disperse you into the ecosystem so you can find your tribe and what's going to help you on your journey.
Hi, thank you so much, Stephanie, for having us. My name is Danielle Smith, and I am the founder of Singles Connection here, which I see some of you guys have been to my events. I host singles events for people that are really desiring to meet people in person. And I really birthed this from a place of realizing so many people are lonely and not wanting to do the dating apps anymore. And so I really cultivate a space of intimacy and connection, and curated through different activations. So the main energy through my event is it's not about what you do, but about who you are that matters. And the most important relationship that you have in your life is the one with yourself. So really a lot of the questions that I curate in my event is all about connecting more deeply with yourself so that you can connect more deeply with the people around you.
I love her.
Hi everybody, I'm also Danielle. I'm Danielle Gertner, and tonight I'm so excited to be here representing my community, Warrior Women ATX. Yeah. This is really loud. I'm already a loud human without a microphone. So Warrior Women ATX is all about celebrating radical self-expression in women through movement and community. And we are a workout community, and all I gotta tell you, if you like sweat, sisterhood, sass, and ass, then come on out and work out with us. We have a great time, and really we were all about breaking down the barriers of what it means to get women strong physically, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And for me, I found my emotional and spiritual strength through the gym, getting under a barbell, swinging a heavy ass kettlebell, and really tapping in and harnessing that physical power. And there's a lot of badass warriors in this room right now. Can I just do a quick shout out? If you come to Warrior Women, can you just throw your guns up in the air? Yes, and I'm just super excited to be here tonight and to kick things off. Thank you so much. Passing it back.
All right. So we're going to kick this off with a question of sisterhood, what it means to be in sisterhood, and maybe how it's being redefined. So let's start out with some thoughts from Danielle Gertner.
Oh, she's ready.
I love that, sisterhood. Interesting enough, this was a word that it was kind of cringe to me for a while. Anybody else? Like, I don't really know what that means. I've got the sisterhood wound. I've never been really close to women in my life, and I feel like since starting Warrior Women, sisterhood has really expanded into being accepted, radically accepted for all of me, every part of me. I started Warrior Women a couple months after my older brother Zachary passed away, and I wasn't sure how to navigate the grief. And being a strong leader, I thought that if I showed my weakness, if I showed my grief, that would make me weak, and the women in my life wouldn't respect me. And boy, was I wrong. And so leaning into sisterhood, what that's really meant is celebration of the full range and the full spectrum of what it means to be a woman. We are the fucking ocean, and we deserve to be celebrated as the fucking ocean. And having women who see all of me, like this one sitting next to me and so many people in this audience, is freedom when you can be seen and loved for all of that you are.
Oh yeah. Anyone else have something to add? All right, so
To feel valued and supported, that's what sisterhood means to me. And I think we're redefining it now, where women are truly coming together for collaboration. And I definitely think it has been a generational thing in the past. And when we're looking at this next generation of women saying, we have the same mission, we have the same values, why aren't we aligning on businesses? Why aren't we sharing those resources and networks? Like, this is the true definition of it right here. We all support each other, we attend each other's events, and we help lift each other up. So that's sisterhood.
I love that. And when it comes to something that I think you do really well, Jax, is creating a brand that champions women that men also feel comfortable going to. And that can be such an art. So can you walk us through how you do that and why you do that?
Absolutely. So I feel it's really important to have those male allies. Like it is, we can't say that we are an inclusive community if we say, oh no, men aren't allowed. We need them a part of this conversation. It's really, really important to change the landscape and create a more equitable environment if men are in the room. So we like to gather our male allies. We call them ambassadors. We make them feel welcomed. And another big piece of this, I'm super passionate about supporting first-time female founders. That's what we do through Ayana, education, resources, and enhanced access to funding. And a lot of the men are writing the checks. So I want them in the room. I want them to meet our women. I want our women to have access to first-time funding. So that's why it's really important.
Any other thoughts on?
I was going to say, I think it's important to have men in the room. Last night for our Galentines, I put out a call for the men in our community, if anybody was available to step up and come and serve the women. And I had an overwhelming response. I think we had 6 men that were serving champagne, and the women felt really valued in that experience. But I think we need to give men the opportunity to come in be there at these, women events. So.
What do you need me to do? I'm right here.
I got you.
All right, we have a conversation to be had after the panel. Amazing. So, and on that vein, Danielle Smith, I'd love to hear from you particularly about dating events and not only being inclusive of, all genders in those events, but how you approach that sometimes sensitive topic of dating and putting people together in an event around that topic of love, vulnerability.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the biggest thing, when I do these events, I really like to set the tone and the energy by saying, hey, we're all adults. We're all here looking for love. So I do some icebreakers that allows us to see like we're all human. I just hosted a singles event here last night. And one of the things that somebody said was like, during the icebreaker, which is like you all stand in the middle and ask questions like, have you ever been ghosted? Or, have you ever, made out in public or whatever it may be? And then everybody, gets to stand in the middle and look around and be like, oh my God, I'm not alone. So the biggest thing for me is I like to create spaces that people can see we're all in this together. Yes, we're sitting on a higher chair, but we're all just like you guys, it's like we're in this, we're all doing our best. And I feel like creating those spaces is so vital because it allows us to like really welcome our humanness. Because we are all human, and we all are, whether we went, I went through a divorce, we went through a breakup, like we get to share spaces of intimacy. And so whether you're a man or a woman, those are the conversations that we have is really around intimacy.
And, on that vein of intimacy, what makes you able to be sort of vulnerable is owning yourself. So Danielle Gertner, I'd love to hear from you about your journey of embodying your self-ownership and expression, and like, were you always in that frame of mind and being, or, what were things that helped you get there, and how does that translate into your community?
That's my favorite topic ever. There we go. This is my favorite topic ever. If you don't know, my tagline is own your shit. And I'm really passionate about taking radical responsibility and ownership over your life. And you asked a couple questions in that one, so hopefully I'll hit them all. I've always been, I would say, confident from the outside looking in, but I've learned over learned over my lifetime, that there's two different types of confidence, I believe. There's the external, the surface level, where we look in the mirror and we're like, ooh, I'm having a nice hair day. I'm like, ooh, my ass looks fat, nice. All right, and we have that external confidence, but then there's the deep, unwavering, soul level, radical confidence that I didn't always have. And it wasn't until, and we actually talked about this on a podcast today, my friend Cassandra, and we were talking about the shift that happened when I realized I woke up and I was living life for everybody else. From the outside looking in, when I was in college, I went to the University of Florida. Go Gators, I just met a fellow Gator. Hey, she's been here a month, by the way, so go make friends with her because she's brand new, it's awesome. But when I was at the University of Florida, I had this great full-time job offer and, all the things, the relationship, the community, and from the outside looking in, it was like, yeah, girl, you're killing it. But going home at night, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I didn't actually know who I was. I didn't actually connect with this soul inside this earth suit. It was all a show, it was all performance, and it was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. And I knew that I had two choices. Either I kept pointing the finger at the world of like, well, I've been on this conveyor belt long enough, so I might as well just keep following it, or I step off. And I discovered myself, and I really believe what I said earlier, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And owning your shit in one area of your life translates into every single area of your life. And I want y'all to remember, if there's anything you take from me from this panel tonight, is your life was not meant to be rented, it was meant to be owned. And only you have the choice to make that tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I'd like to, even branching upon that, and, let's say that you cultivate this sense of self and you're like, okay, great, I'm ready to share this and be this and bring this out in other people. Sometimes there becomes a point where it's important to, in my view, introduce some element of discernment. So I'd like to ask Jax actually about, let's say when you're building community, how do you determine, let's say, who's your inner circle, who's your community, what's private, what do you share?
It's definitely a good question because I share all the shit. I am an open book. If anybody knows me, like personally, I share everything. There's no separation. When I worked in a corporate job many years ago, especially I worked in fashion for 12 years as a creative director, and they groom you. And you are this brand, and you represent this brand, and everything you say has to be on brand. And that is really freaking hard because you're not being authentic. You're not being true to who you are, right? Even your social media, everything has to be approved by this company to make sure it fits within this little perfect box. And when I left that job, I said, fuck that, and I'll never do that again. So I am a complete open book. I share pretty much everything. Any founder who's come up to me, asked me to go to coffee, asked me to share my story, my failures, my triumphs, my learning lessons, I am completely open. But I will say, in 2022, I definitely had a pretty bad burnout because I overextended myself in a big way. And I do believe as a community leader, you can be an open book, but it's important that you have some boundaries for yourself. And they're not boundaries like, I don't have time for you, I'm too good for that. It's more of like the self-care boundary. How do I pour into my own cup so that I can then pour into everybody else's cup?
Yeah, and is a part of that for you having, let's say, a clearly defined, there's a lot of talk about inner circles and then community, and it's like, wait, are they the same? Are they different? How would you distinguish that for people?
Yeah, so what I can say this, I never want to be the most accomplished, successful person in any room, never. I want to be in rooms where I'm being challenged, where I can learn something from someone. So I say that my business inner circles, I'm constantly challenging myself and putting myself in those rooms. My friendship inner circles, I hold them really close and really dear. But my community circles are endless. Like there's a lot of love for everybody in that space.
I love that. And Cherie, that brings up how what you've done is have a great large community fiesta. And from there, you distilled it into a smaller women's meetup. So I would love for you to walk us through what inspired that and anything that you think is useful to know when you are creating a smaller community from a larger one.
Okay. So I think the reason or the purpose behind creating we call it the gathering of founders, and the her is all big. But it was because there was a void. I mean, even Fiesta was created out of a void that I saw in this ecosystem. There were so many people moving to Austin, and they didn't know where to begin. And so we created Fiesta, and then the women I found weren't stepping up. And so I thought, gosh, what would it look like if we met together and provided an opportunity to be authentic and real, kind of like what y'all were talking about, and just showing up. And so it was just kind of, I'm not about numbers, it's just about like if one person shows up, then that was purposeful. I think I've had people ask me that several times, how do I measure success? And it's like if one person is helped, then I've been successful. And out of that also, because my purpose is about helping the founder, I'm very collaborative, and it's about supporting, so even in Fiesta, I kind of view us as a spoke, and we have these different, we're the hub, and I created these different spokes. So like there's a women's founders group, and we support what they're doing because it's a lunch and learn, and they are doing something different than we could do. So it's just kind of filling a void.
Anyone else have anything to add? And I also, so Danielle Gertner, I wanted to hear a bit from you about particularly having events where you collaborate and have different collaborative partners that are value aligned. So I attended your event last year that was a gathering, in the outdoors, s'mores, all that fun stuff. And you're a women's group, you partner with the men's group that was aligned. Can you tell us how you went about finding that aligned partner? Did you find them? Did they find you? All of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that you asked earlier just about the importance and what you both shared, the importance of having men in the room. And I see the beauty of doing the women's work separately, of doing the men's work separately, but also when you do that work separately, can we integrate it together? And this is something I feel like we've done really well with Warrior Women and Empowered Brotherhood, which have a very handsome gentleman in the corner right there who's representing them. And I was lucky enough that my best friend, Vladimir, was running this men's group at the time, and I made it a goal in my life, especially after my brother passed away, how can I better support the men in my life? As if anybody's lost anybody, sometimes when it happens, you realize, holy shit, I wish I would have done something more when that person was here. And I really set that intention, and they happened to be this incredible group, Empowered Brotherhood, if I didn't say that already, that was doing the work on themselves to be the best men that they could be. And we were a women's group, then we are a women's group striving to be the best women we can be. And so when we get to bring those worlds together and we get to integrate and learn from each other, we've done a holiday event, we've done a really incredible event called the Sweat Collective, and in that event, we do a connection piece where the men sit in front of the women and we're eye-gazing, we're asking questions, and we're deepening that connection. And so the separate work is really important, but as we know, we don't live in separate worlds, even though sometimes maybe we wish we did, but integrating those worlds together and being able to show up as the best version of you in the face of somebody that you might not fully understand has been extremely powerful, and we've learned so much from them.
Okay, we're going to go to Q&A in a moment. So raise your hand if you have a question, you think you have a question, just to get a read of the room. Okay, maybe more of you will put your hands up in a moment. But before we do that, we're going to go over one of my favorite questions, which is, can you tell us about one of your favorite events that you've hosted? It could be in the early days of event hosting, it could be recent, just something that really sparked something in you where you're like, I love this.
I would say the first singles event I did 13 months ago. It kind of was birthed out of clients asking like, hey, can you host a singles event? I was doing networking events, and I was like, okay, let's just throw it out there. And there ended up being like 80 people that showed up, and it's just been kind of a snowball effect ever since then. But I feel like it sparked something in me of me realizing, I remember I was a worship leader for a long time, and I would be on stage and I felt like this is what I'm made for. And I was like, this is my purpose. And then I was leading these singles events, and it gave me the same feeling like this is my purpose, is to create intimacy, spaces for people to connect deeply with themselves. And so that was like, so ever since then I'm like, I can't stop, because I feel like the biggest thing for me is if we all had an intimate relationship with ourselves, that we loved ourselves, that we knew ourselves, that we knew our intuition, our world would be a completely different place. Our relationships would be completely different. And so this is like what I live and breathe now. So grateful for that.
Amen.
Great. I want to say the Galentines. I've done it twice now, and what I really love about it is creating a space for women to come in, and there's beauty. And we've done it over at the West Chelsea Art Gallery for the last 2 years. And I've been handed down all of this ridiculous china and crystal and silver, and it's like, what do I do with this? So I bring everything there and set it up with candles, because it's an opportunity to just really celebrate women and who we are and the strength. And I'm kind of known as a startup mama. I'm definitely older than these gals, but I love loving on people, and the things that I didn't have earlier on is what I want to be able to give back and just remind you that you are valuable, and show up every day and be yourself.
So I can't pick just one. I can't. But I can pick the theme, International Women's Day. I've been hosting International Women's Day events for over a decade. And every year, they get better and better. And that's like my version of Super Bowl, y'all. I'm a New Yorker that can say y'all now. I feel like I've earned that check. But International Women's Day, I mean, it's in, obviously under the United Nations, and it's really creating a more equitable landscape for women in every way. And this year, the theme is Inspired Inclusion. And we're going to be hosting something, actually 3 days of programming for International Women's Day during South by Southwest. So would love to chat with you about it. I'll share the details with Stephanie, who can share it all with you, but that's my favorite.
Awesome. Would you like to share your favorite event?
Man, this is a hard question to answer as well, but I think one of my favorite events I've ever hosted. So before I moved to Austin, I had a movement and music festival called Connection that traveled around the country for 2 years. We went to 13 different cities. It was me and my best friend at the time. And we were just little badasses that knew nothing. We really challenged ourselves to see how far our connections could get us. So I had actually never been to Austin before, and we threw an Austin event where 70 people showed up, which was really cool. And I remember the event that we did in Gainesville, Florida, which is where I was living at the time, and it was connection, movement, music, magic. So in every city we found live musicians to play during the yoga and during the workout, movement obviously, and then the magic was a whole lot of things which you can come ask me about later. A little PG-13, some rated R, okay? We'll talk about that. But I think what that taught me was we are so much more connected than we think we are. It was just me and Sarah, and we went to 13 cities. We ended up getting sponsored by Under Armour to take this around the country, and it was just off of, hey Danielle, do you know somebody who does this? And Danielle would be like, actually, I might have this fourth person I'm connected to. So that's what that really reminded me, and I hope y'all remember here tonight, even if you're not sitting up here, it doesn't matter. Every single one of us has something to give and something to receive, and we are so well connected, and your zone of genius can help somebody else in their zone of genius. So that's what that taught me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And, since we're here, I'll share one event that I hosted that sparked something for me. I used to have a meetup called Potluck Connect in my big backyard in San Francisco, and one of the annual events was cookies, and miscellaneous milks. So, as you can imagine, there were so many different kinds of milks, like any animal, any nut, any seed, any flavor, and like all these weird cookie profiles with different prizes and contests for each one. And it was just so fun. I would dress up like Miss Claus, and I think it's just important to encourage our inner child to come out and play sometimes. And also as a host, I know sometimes it's nice when other people co-create the food experience with you, so it's not all on you. So, hey, maybe I'll bring it to Austin and you heard it first. So we are about to go into Q&A, and then I want to set the stage that we will be going over a couple more closing questions with our speakers after Q&A, and saying thank you to our wonderful sponsors. But let's get those hands up again, and our runner is ready. Yay, thank you, Dejana. So, and here's a friendly reminder that a question is not a short story. It is not more than a sentence long. So I know sometimes it's useful to have a little friendly reminder. So yeah, just to keep it nice and concise, please. Thank you.
Hi everybody. Thank you all so much for sharing your stories. It's really inspiring sitting here as a female business owner. My question is, as a woman who is interested in helping other women and potentially growing my own community, what is the first step or a first step in terms of getting to that point? Is it being more vulnerable on social media? Is it throwing your first event? Or if anyone has anything to share on that, I'd love to hear it.
I'll share quickly and pass it along. Do the damn thing. Do the damn thing. Start, and then start again, and then do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and lead with your heart. And it's like with what we shared earlier, one person makes a difference because that person will impact other people. Call in the community and keep calling it in, and they'll come. And I also know that you're badass, so they'll really come.
That's true. We'll all be there. I was actually thinking the same thing. I was like, just start. Just do it. Yeah, just do it. And really get clear on like, what is your intention? What is your why? And I feel like that will lead you to like the right people, the right opportunities. But it's like connecting with that like vibration of like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
I would also say that besides just doing it, be consistent. I think that the best advertisement are the people that come, and having a consistent day, a consistent time, makes it easy for people to share with others.
My piece of advice is add value. what value can you start adding to the lives of those you want to welcome into your community? Keep adding that value, they're going to keep coming back.
I would say one consideration is the people to fill the spaces at the party or the event. So one thing that I like to do is, and actually shout out to a lot of people here that I've met at events, what I love to do is invite people that I meet, that I click with, to show up and be in community with me.
Hi, my name is Fatima. Thank you so much for sharing all the amazing stories. As a business owner in my very early 20s, and I feel extremely intimidated walking in places where there are very successful women, and as also a woman of minority, I would just love to hear some advice. What's the best way to go about just meeting people without feeling intimidated or anything like that?
Exactly what you just did to me today. I got to meet this lovely young woman at an event I was hosting at Soho House for Feely, and she just came right up to me and said, "It's so nice to meet you. I'm really happy to be here. I run my own business. This is my cosmetics brand." And today, she reached out to me on social media, said, "I can't wait to see you tonight," and walked right up to me. And now I'm going to be helping her connect with retail locations for her cosmetic line because she just made the effort to say hi.
Same thing. I mean, put yourself out there. We're all on the same playing field, and those that are successful at one time weren't successful. And I think it's not a comparison game. So all ships rise, so don't compare yourself, just be you. Just don't doubt your gifts for a fucking second. Every single one of you, including you, don't doubt your gifts for a fucking second. You have something to give every person in this room. No matter how old, young you are, it doesn't matter.
Hi, I'm Dana, and I was wondering if anyone has any advice on how to embody or set the tone of the culture of your community. Like, how do you as a leader set the tone of that culture and spread that message to your leadership team and to your community?
Yeah, real quick. First of all, great question. And obviously speaking from my own experience, you gotta lead it. You gotta live it if you're gonna lead it. You have to live it if you are gonna lead it. And that doesn't mean that you're always gonna live it right. That doesn't mean that you're always gonna get it right. And so leading with that vulnerability, owning your shit, owning up to what didn't go well, where you were out of integrity. But if you're gonna lead it, live it to the best of your ability, ask for support, ask for feedback of, am I living this? What are the ways that you see I'm not living this? Yeah.
I would say be a product of the product, it's like it is an embodiment, and just like with my relationship stuff and my dating stuff, that is definitely coming after my own relationship. And I have to embody that in my partnership so that I can then give it, because we can't give something that we haven't first received or first embodied ourselves. So I would say that's the biggest thing. And then get support, get a coach or a mentor or somebody that has already done it. It's so helpful. And then you're able to just step into almost like their anointing, if we're bringing church verbiage in here. You're able to step into it because they've already done it. So it makes it's honestly, it's like a cheat thing. Just like fucking hire somebody. So we can say church and fucking the same words, so the same. And we love Jesus.
Having two different groups, I mean, how I approach them is completely different. Like FIESTA is a very large gathering, and it's very consistent. I do the same thing. It's kind of rinse and repeat with the women's event. What I do is that we break into smaller groups and go deeper, because I feel like women want to walk away feeling like they made one or two good connections, and that's how you do it. So I think it depends on what you're going after to how you go about doing it.
As a community leader, you have to set your own playbook, girl. So you have to think about what are your values personally, and then what are the values, the core values of your community, and you have to set some rules, some boundaries of what you're going to accept, the non-negotiables for the community, so that you're creating a safe, supportive environment for everybody. So you got to set the playbook.
question on this side. Okay, so first of all, I'm from Toronto and we don't have stuff like this in Toronto, so thank you for putting together this awesome event. I've been a business owner for 15 years, recently started a community for female entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I am struggling with, and I feel like a lot of us business owners, we're visionaries, right? We can see the big picture. And I'm curious, what is the process for you for reflection, for feedback from your community in terms of, I think I want it to go one way, but y'all are telling me that it should go another. And so how much of that is like, I'm the leader and I know where I want this to go, versus my community is telling me it's thirsty for something else?
One thing that comes to mind is literally just host it and the members speak.
Yeah, so as a community leader, your whole job is to serve your community. So you can think you're doing X, Y, and Z, but if your community needs something else, that is your most important, valuable asset, that data from your community. So constantly asking them what's working, what's not working. You're always going to be changing and you're always going to be adapting. So listening to them is going to be super, super important.
I would say that after each event that I do, I step back. I mean, even after the event I did yesterday, and I'm like, what went well? What could I do better? You know, because there's no perfect event out there, and I always ask for feedback. It's like, I would love, like, if I have vendors, please share with me how I can do better. If I have speakers, I ask them the same thing. So I think getting feedback is important, but you're gonna have to be true to yourself and what you're trying to accomplish and know what your why is.
Yeah, I think the feedback is super important, but I don't get feedback from everybody. I don't ask everybody for feedback. So I have like a small group, Danielle being somebody I really trust, like that knows me, knows my heart, knows my vision. And I'm like, can you please give me a reflection after coming to my event? What is ways that I can grow? What are ways I can do better? And another thing that may be controversial, but this is something I've navigated. I just sold a business that I have for 5 years. And from even my business coach, he said, you know, put it out there, see what the community wants, like get polls on Instagram. And I was like, no, I want this next business to come from my soul and from my heart. And that's where the singles events came from. So I do feel like there is a balance of like definitely get feedback, but there's also a balance of like trusting what you're meant to do in the world, what you're meant to bring can only come from you.
Yeah, I'm gonna check mark that. Face pump. Mm-hmm. Should we lock it? I think we gotta lock it too. Boom. Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's a balance. Too much noise is too much noise, and the inner guidance system, as we talked about earlier, is in here, and too much noise can cloud that inner guidance. And I'll just say too, I do my best to get to know as many of the women in my community on a personal level as possible, so the bridge between them giving me feedback is a lot shorter. And so if there is something that I really need to know, hopefully every single one of the women feel comfortable coming to me to say that. And just piggybacking off of what Danielle also said is, you know, really being mindful about who you're getting feedback from. What are their interests? What are their motivations? Are they people that are helping you grow the community? And are they part of the future of the community or not? And just paying attention to that too.
Two more questions. Somebody up here, and then one back here, and then we'll...
Thank you. So the Danielle's already touched upon this a little bit, but I'm wondering, as far as when building your community, how important is it to each of you to go on your own versus to co-create with someone, whether you have a partner or whether you have supporters or like a board of advisors? How is that for each of you, and who are examples of those people for you?
Wow, great question. So I just started on my own, and it actually started with my family, and now I do a lot of the work myself. I think having a team of people is important. I just haven't found the right team because I'm moving really fast to go from one event to the next in what we're doing. But I highly recommend that you do have that support system around you. Yeah.
I think that's great.
That is a really great question. In my former business, pre-merging, I did have a co-founder, and after 5 years, we had a really challenging separation because ultimately we saw different visions for our business. And I can proudly say at this moment for the foundation, there's 4 of us as co-founders. That's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? But we each bring something really special and unique to the table. We can't all be good at everything, right? So, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, like how do you take feedback? How do you keep leveling up as you're building your community? I have partners now, one of them sitting right here, who will call me out on my shit and who will challenge me in the best possible way and will make our effort times 10 because we both have a similar mission and we have the same values. So choosing your partners is so important. And we actually did, one of our first things was a core values exercise just to make sure that we are actually aligned as partners. The other thing that I think is the most important thing you can do as founders is build your boards. So your actual board of directors is going to be super important. You need to make sure you have at least 3 people, ideally 4, if there's ever a vote that needs to happen, which I've been in that situation. And then your board of advisors, which is so important, the champions of your business as you're fundraising, as you're doing partnerships, as you need advice. So making sure that you look at all the things you need, legal, financial, like make your dream list and then approach the individuals that can help support.
I do want to say something else. When I started doing what I was doing, it was just a passion project. And it kept growing and growing. And I have found myself in a situation now where I am looking at getting a board of advisors. I've asked individuals to come on. So, sometimes you don't know what you're doing and you just kind of do what you're doing and kind of fake it until you can get the right people along. So I just wanted to say you don't have to have everything figured out right away.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, I'm Nick Sally. I do trademarks and tarot. I spent over a decade at Facebook building out a global IP reporting system, and then I did 100 million in sales on their advertising side. I left, and now I have my own law firm that I'm running full time, and I'm having trouble with the actual marketing, like the target marketing. So my question is, for example, some people actually have the budget to pay me for full services to do like $3,500 for a trademark application. But then those who don't, I've asked them, do you want me to do a DIY workshop where I teach you how to file your own trademark? But nobody ever, they just say, I don't know. So how can I effectively poll my target market to build something that they actually need that's going to help them?
Yeah, and I think, Nick, you're doing it by being here, right? So you're passionate, because I know you personally, you're passionate about supporting founders, especially women, right? So you being in these rooms, expressing yourself, talking about your business, and then making the virtual workshop. See who's gonna come. Don't wait on people to say, oh, I might be interested. Say, I'm gonna do it. Put it out there, and then see how people react to it. And I'd start there, and then attending more of these, hosting more of these, getting yourself out there to meet your folks, meet your tribe.
That I will add to that. Start getting curious about the people you're talking to. Ask them what their problems are, ask them what issues they're facing, and use that language in your marketing. That was a very valuable tip I got from a business coach a while ago. I'm a fluffer, I like to use a lot of fluff. I'm like, I'm an ownership coach. She's like, what the fuck is an ownership coach? Who knows what an ownership coach is? I do, but will my target audience know? And so ask, right? No, right? It's okay. Thanks for your honesty. That's why I don't call myself that anymore. So just ask the questions and use that language, because then it's going to speak directly to them. And it's trial and error, just like we just shared. Jump off the cliff and build it on the way down, and you'll figure it out as you go. But I think asking those questions and listening and actually using the feedback you get is going to be super key. Do you see one more? There was one more question. I saw your hand up for a hot minute, so I'm gonna let you ask the question. Thank you.
Okay. On voice, so it's okay. Actually, Danielle, you said start living your own life, like in your process through that. That's something that I think a lot of us have been doing, especially post-COVID and all that, trying to connect. But I find it can be very hard on our family and friends to see us like putting in the work and trying to build our community because they're not used to seeing us that way. And it's very hard for me just to remove people from my life. So I would love any recommendations on how to navigate that.
That's a great question. I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. So navigating as you change and evolve, if it's not sitting maybe well with the people around you, how do you navigate that?
Boundaries.
Yeah. Boundaries. Yeah. I think compassion on both ends. I think part of it is you got to live your life and you got to grow and expand, but you can do it in a way that is compassionate and loving to the people who have seen different parts of you. And curiosity is huge for me of what about this change is shaking you up inside. Can you tell me a little bit about what your fears are, what your concerns are, instead of immediately getting defensive, like you're not supporting me. Can I get curious about what's happening in here deeper, like behind the layers, like understanding that we're all human and their reactions aren't personal. Something within them is getting triggered, something within them is getting scared, and if you can soften yourself enough, maybe they'll be able to meet you there as well.
Yeah, I think people get comfortable with a certain version of you, and as you evolve, they're like, what's happening? And I can definitely attest to having something very similar happening as I grow and evolve in my life. And a big thing for me is just having really honest conversations, being really vulnerable. I can speak to even like parent relationships and being like, hey, this isn't working for me and I need a little bit more space until I navigate through this, or until you meet me, or until something happens. So I think just being super honest, super vulnerable. I love what Danielle said about getting curious. And navigating where they're coming from towards you and what's actually, we're all mirrors of each other. And so I think allowing that to be, navigated too.
I'm gonna pass.
I mean, I think you all did a great job answering that question, but it just goes back to finding your tribe. As you grow, you're going to keep leveling up, and it's not going to sit well with everybody. So who are the people that are going to support you? And it's interesting, as we develop in our older years, we notice that the friends we've had since childhood, we're going to still love them, but maybe they're not coming to this next part of the journey. So finding your friendships in your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, it's definitely different. It's like the sisterhood, going back to your soul sisters. Find your tribe.
This came up earlier as I was talking to my mom about tonight, and what came through was we have to accept that we may be the villain in some people's story and we may be the hero. And I think the deeper we can accept our own purpose, our own calling, and it makes it a lot easier for those voices not to be as loud.
And I'm just going to add without the microphone, we can't control the role that somebody else casts us in their story. That's not up to us, that's up to them. All we can control is how we show up in our own story.
And I love that, because I think last year was probably one of the hardest years because I felt like I was misunderstood a lot, and especially in my family and among people who really wanted to help. And so it's not going to be easy all the time, but if you're called to do something, I think you have to be faithful to do that and trust that in the right time, those relationships that are meant to be will heal. I never burn bridges because I always feel like there's a path back and forth. So.
Yes, and that's such a beautiful segue into, we're going to do sort of rapid fire nuggets of wisdom, and then go into how people can stay connected, and then a couple of other fun wrap-up items. And I mean, something that I'll share is along that vein of, when it comes to setting healthy boundaries with people that are no longer aligned, to be very clear within yourself of how you feel. Beyond the logic of it makes sense to stay in touch with this person. No, how does it actually feel? And to articulate that very clearly, and to not make it finite, to the point of not burning bridges, to be able to say, hey, I value this connection. Are you open to a conversation? Not everyone is. And you have to let them go and move forward. And especially as you become more visible as a community leader, you will have more people who are haters. And it can be shocking. You're like, what? Oh my gosh, but I like them, but maybe they don't like you. And you just need to be okay with it and redirect your focus to your people. Yeah, we'll go on with nuggets of wisdom.
Okay, nuggets of wisdom. Okay, what I want to say is the word no doesn't hurt. So as women, oftentimes we are afraid to speak up and ask for what we want and what we need because that's masculine energy, because, people want us to be nice or to be calm or to be cute. Ask for things. Ask for what you want and what you need. There's still a way to make an educated, nice, informational ask, but start asking, because when we ask for things, the doors open. So that's my negative wisdom.
I think my negative wisdom would be communication is so important in every relationship, and do it face to face, not behind screens. I feel like so many relationships end because of misunderstandings and people not wanting to get face to face with you. And I think when you're with somebody, you're able to experience what's really going on, and they can read body language. So there's a lot more that happens through body language than a text message.
Yes, please. That's how we do in-person events. Can I just have a moment to everybody close their eyes? Because I feel like I want us all to drop in for a second, because I feel like in this room there's several people that are feeling like inspired. They're feeling like they want to push an edge. I feel like there's answers that are coming through in the room. And so my word of wisdom for you is to follow that. Take one step towards that. Whatever's coming up, whatever's bubbling up, maybe in your throat or your stomach, just feel it and say yes to it and see the doors open for you.
You can open your ass now. I love those drop-ins. Thank you. I have a quick bit of a poem that I want to share with you. That is my nugget of wisdom. It's been on my mirror since I found it, I think when I was in high school. And it's called The Man in the Glass, but I'm gonna edit it to The Woman in the Glass. And it goes a little something like this. If you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you queen for a day, go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that version of you has to say. For it isn't your mother or brother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The one whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. They are the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for they're with you clear until the end. And you've passed your most difficult and dangerous task if the person in the glass is your friend. You against you, always, you for you, always. And if there's anything that you do in this lifetime, it's go home and look at yourself hard in the eyeballs and be damn proud of how you showed up that day. And if you can do that, you are winning, my friends. You are winning.
All right, so I would love for each of you to share your next event, and we'll keep it really rapid fire. If you just want to say the date, the name, brief description. Let's go.
March 7th through March 11th, every single day, multiple things per day. Come talk to me, South by Southwest.
Next Tuesday, February 20th, Fiesta over at Capitol Factory. We usually have about 200 people that show up, and it's a great time of connection, and you get to hear from 10 founders.
I love it. Yes, go to Fiesta. March 11th here, we're starting with a networking event for South by Southwest, and then we're ending with an after party for singles. Oh, yes, you do.
Okay, there's back on. I'm gonna do two really fast. Warrior Room and ATX, you wanna sweat? Sisterhood, sass and ass. Come see me. Thursdays, our next workout one is on Thursdays. And then also, I can't not say this, but me and this badass chick right here, we're leading a retreat in Colombia. It's called Live Out Loud, and it's all about play, adventure, and celebration. So if you want to deepen your connection to yourself, own your shit, but not take all the heaviness with you, like you still want sass class, ass, lots of ass shaking. It is co-ed. Please come talk to us. We would love to talk to you about coming to Colombia.
Woo, and all of these will be shared in the follow-up email, so stay tuned. And you're the first to hear, the next Women Creating in Real Life community panel is going to be September 5th. Mark your calendars, and I have QR codes in the front. I would really appreciate you taking a brief survey about your experience here so it gets better every single time it happens. And then your thank you gift is a discount code, so stay tuned for that. And I would like to thank our sponsors, the whole reason why we're able to gather here, all of the wonderful experiences. So I will read so that I make sure to include everyone. We have VUCA, this beautiful event space, and the Holistic Ambition podcast. We have Femme Blend Cacao, Boozy Bakes Cupcakes, Zero Proof Pop-Up Bottle Shop, Nick Sally Trademarks and Tarot, the Studio taking photos and videos, Define Beauty, Wander Bliss Jewelry, and I also want to give a special announcement because we have a birthday girl in the house. So, Joanne, if you would stand up for a moment. Or you're over there, hello. So, Joanne is celebrating a birthday, and let's go ahead and sing happy birthday to her. We also have Boozy Bakes giving a non-infused treat. So, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anne. Happy birthday to you.
Yes! All right, so keep the cheers coming if you even want to stand up with that energy. Yeah, feel free. We're going to turn the music back on. You can mix and mingle, engage with these amazing edible experiences. Like you have some, and you can ingest things. You can like get your tarot away. We're using some interesting words. Hey, have fun. Thank you for coming, everyone.